Well, hi. Let's take a look at your video, and let's start by just looking at the video itself, and then we'll go over it, and I'll make some comments along the way, and we can see how you guys did. So let me share my screen with you, and away we go.
Perfect. All right, so we are with Monsanto. We're here to talk to you guys today about the importance of business writing, what it means to us. To introduce ourselves, I'm Robbie Larkin.
I'm Jeremy Fletcher.
I'm Kevin. All right, so let's jump right into it.
So obviously, to start off, first maybe asking yourself, who is Monsanto? We're an agrochemical company located here in St. Louis. So what that means is we basically make all the chemicals that are used on farms. So what our goal is today, and how we're going to help you learn how business writing can make you a better student, as well as once you get moving in your professional career, we're going to give you 5 writing tips. The results that you can see from these writing tips, as well as we have a little bit of a reward at the end that will let you guys know more information on.
Yeah, of course.
How do you construct a good paper?
Awesome. So that leads us into our next point. So here's our process. Step number 1, know your audience. When you walk into the room, get to know who these people are. Do a little bit of digging on them. Go on LinkedIn, figure out what sort of people they are, what professions they're in. Second, an executive summary. High points, high level. These people are very busy. You want to get straight to the point, not too many funny business in there or things that may distract them. Third, use a strong, active voice. Control the room. When you're in that audience, you want to make sure they know you're in power. Eye contact is huge. Next point, concise wording. You don't want elaborate sentences or run-off sentences. You want to be to your point, make sure these people understand. And our last point, grammar and edits. I mean, come on, people. This is the biggest point of that. We want no mistakes, no spelling errors. Be concise. Yeah, of course.
Bad, right?
So, this top sentence here, around 61,000 people die from influenza. The flu every year, unlike the coronavirus, has killed only 21 people in the United States. That's not a good sentence. You see the commas are in the wrong places. It's a runoff sentence. It's not concise. That's not what we want to see. So to answer your question, a good sentence is around 61,000 people die every year from the influenza. The coronavirus has only killed 21 people in the United States so far. So you can see between these two, the runoff, which you don't want to be. This is where we want to be. Side hand.
Always be writing, but I think you want.
Great.
Oh, that's a good question, man. So if you think about it, everybody has a talent. Everybody has talent. And you like people like playing on their phones, and if that's your skill, and you want to continue that, communication and writing skills are going to be important. If your hobby is writing, music, sports, anything, art, these skills will take you everywhere. If you think about better future, you have to talk to very important people growing up. Education, you're gonna have to write a lot of papers in school, a lot of stuff, and this will take you very far. And then grants and scholarships, that's what we're gonna have to low-key provide to everybody. Not to everybody, but to the people who wanna approach this. And then workplace communication, y'all are gonna grow up, and then your communication will be very important.
So students in the back, which one sticks out? Either of you. Which one out of these 4 sticks out? Yes.
Educational advancement.
What do you mean by that? What are you getting at?
Well, I think it's really important to get lots of degrees.
Absolutely. No, we agree with that. And so that leads us into our next point.
So what we're going to be able to give to you guys is we're going to give you the scholarship to attend college after high school, or maybe that'd be a tech school, or maybe you just want to dip your feet in the water and go to a community college. So what we have to offer is we're going to have a writing competition where we want you guys to give us your best 3 to 5 page business writing paper. It's going to be reviewed by our staff, and then we have 4 full ride scholarships that we're going to cover all the fees associated with your college career, as well as 10 partial scholarships that'll cover a large chunk of your college career, just so we can get you with that foot in that door. As we know, finances can be tough, especially for the type of finance college education.
So we know it's high school. It's a bunch of fun. I like the shirt in the back, by the way. However, this is the next step. We're looking for students that really want to progress in their education and their futures. So these steps will help you become more efficient in the workplace and overall a better communicator. Do you have any more questions we can help you with? Yes.
4 minutes and 19 seconds. Okay, so you guys did a really pretty good job here. Let me turn off the screen sharing for just a minute here. Especially, I really loved that you came up with a little vignette where you had your team members involved in asking questions. And I thought that was very imaginative, and I thought that was great. It's wonderful to see more than just a talking head presentation. It shows that your team thought about it and put some effort and energy into it, and I really appreciate that, and made it more fun for me. Almost I was tempted not to turn on the music, but clearly I wasn't that tempted, I guess, in the end. So let's take a look at what you're doing here, okay? Start.
Perfect. All right, so we are with Monsanto. We're here to talk to you guys today about the importance of business writing, what it means to us. To introduce ourselves, I'm Robbie Larkin.
I'm Jeremy Fletcher. And I'm Kevin.
All right, so let's jump right into it.
So obviously, to start off, first maybe ask yourself, who is Monsanto? We're an agrochemical company located here in St. Louis. So what that means is we basically make all the chemicals that are used on farms. So what our goal is today and how we're going to help you learn how.
Okay, we're at the 30-second point here, and you guys did some stuff really well. You introduced yourself, gave us our name. You went by the first name, which I think is really great with a high school audience. It's relaxed, it's easygoing. Your dress is business casual, which I think also takes some of the pressure off the kids, and I think also is very appropriate. One thing I would offer that might make your presentation stronger is put more of a hook here at the beginning. What you've done is you've told us a little bit for a couple of seconds what you were going to do for us, excuse me, and then you started getting into who Monsanto is and stuff. I think you would have done well to expand that out a little bit more and offer more of a thing to draw us into why we should care about what you're talking about. What that hook can be is up to you guys, but it should be something fun. It should be something exciting. Keep in mind, most of these kids are going to know who Monsanto is, so you don't have to get into too much detail, and you're not, which is really great. Let's keep going.
Business writing can make you a better student, as well as once you get moving in your professional career, to give you 5 writing tips. The results that you can see from these writing tips, as well as we have a little bit of a reward at the end that will let you guys know more information on.
Yeah, of course.
How do you construct
Okay, so Jeremy did a really nice job there. Not too much looking at the screen. Just a couple of quick looks. The slides are really great in here, which is really nice to see as well. And I love that right away you've got a question and away we roll. And like I said, I really like that you guys took a chance and did something like that.
Awesome. So that leads us into our next point. So here's our process.
So again, here, I'd like to talk about the body language. You guys handled that really well. It's tight back in here. I know that from having used it myself. And you managed it comfortably. It was easygoing. You were ready. You obviously had practiced this from a technical perspective. From a strictly observing the presentation perspective, it came across really nicely, really smoothly. Very well done.
Number 1, know your audience. When you walk into the room, you have to know who these people are. Do a little bit of digging on it. Go on LinkedIn, figure out what sort of people they are, professions they're in.
Now, careful, this is not a huge deal, Robbie, but you can see the line here. Always try to, as much as possible, to stay out of the slide. You're not in front of the slide, so like I said, it's not a huge deal, but it's a little distracting when people look at you. One of the reasons to maybe stay to the side of the slides. I think that's usually the better thing to do. If there's slides up there, let your audience see them. You don't want light in your face. It's just weird. Like I said, it's not a big deal at all. How you're talking, how you're presenting, how you're coming across are all excellent. You're projecting well, you're easy to listen to, you're inviting, you're open. Those are all excellent things. So I'm just being a picky almost, but do keep in mind, it becomes a little distracting because as we saw in the lecture the other day, we focus on people's faces, and here it is right in the middle of your face. So just a little tip to help you along, and keeping in mind that you are doing excellent work here. Like I said, your projection's great, how you're expressing yourself is great, you're accessible, it's wonderful work.
Second, an executive summary. High points, high level. These people are very busy. You want to get straight to the point, not too many funny business in there or things that may distract them. strong, active voice. Control the room. When you're in that audience, you want to make sure they know you're in power.
So again, you can see what I'm driving at. Don't want to beat this to death. You can avoid all that just by being off to the side. And here, what's going to happen is Kevin probably needs to not be at the front of the room, and you're better off doing swap outs where he comes to the front and back and forth, off to the side, and then when it's his turn to talk, you trade off the clicker and he comes up and does the talking. But that way, there's only one person to focus on at the front of the room, and I really think that's important. If you've got multiple people at the front of the room, it's always distracting. So if Kevin's sitting down, you could move over here and stay out of the place of the slides. And think about this when you're doing boardroom presentations, which I'm sure, Robbie, you're going to be doing, and the rest of you may well be doing that as well. When a team presents, you may have a couple of people in the team presenting, but there's usually only one person standing up at a time, talking about what's going on, and then they hand it off to somebody else, say the manager of production or somebody from marketing, whatever. And then the people in the room just focus on one person at a time. So keep that in mind. Even if you've got multiple presenters, which is perfectly fine, make sure there's really only one person at the front of the room at a time, and that's much easier for people to watch that person and stay focused on them. Anyways, you guys are doing a great job. Onward.
Eye contact is huge. Next point, concise wording. You don't want elaborate sentences or run-off sentences. You want to be to your point, make sure these people understand. And our last point.
Let's watch Robbie's body language. It's really pretty natural, right? And I love that you're coming out. Here it is. You're coming out from behind the dais here. I'm going to put this on pause because, well, actually the student's question, although it is a good one, let's leave that be. But let's keep watching Robbie's body language here. And see, you move off to the side, you let us see it, and then you read the sentence off. Now, if I may offer a suggestion here, this is, and we talked about this, this is very small writing. That's not the problem because this is a long sentence. What you can do to save it, I think these should be on 2 different slides. That's what I would suggest that you do. That way you can take the font here and make it a little bigger and make it a little easier to read. Then people will focus also on the first sentence, which is a bad sentence. If you put both sentences up there, what your audience is going to do on you is they're going to start reading the first sentence and then they're going to start looking at the second sentence. And if you recall what I said, people like to look at their symbols and try to understand what they mean. And you're going to have your audience focused on the slide and they're focused away from what you're saying. And that's not really what you're after here. So in this instance, split this over 2 sides, right? You could put example bad, example good, or if you want to have a bit of fun because it's high school, you could go yucky and you can go awesome for the next one as your title, something like that. All right, onward. This isn't a horror story. This is a learning process. You guys are doing a great job. Like I said, I really did like your slides overall. This is just one thing that caught my eye. In particular, on your previous slides, you had these really great pictures and stuff, which I thought were excellent and a lot of fun to look at. Onward. So let's turn the volume back on here.
21 people in the United States. That's not a good sentence. You see the commas are in the wrong places. It's a runoff sentence. It's not concise. That's not what we want to see. So to answer your question, a good sentence is around 61,000 people die every year from the influenza. The coronavirus has only killed 21 people in the United States so far. So you can see between these two, the runoff, which you don't want to be. This is where we want to be. So I can.
How is speed writing going to affect you?
Great
Oh,
question.
that's a good question, man. So if you think about it, everybody has a talent. Everybody has talent. And you like people like playing on their phones, and if that's your skill, and you want to continue that communication and writing skills are going to be important.
So it's really nice how Kevin moved in there and picked up that question. That was really well done. It's an excellent transition. You're demonstrating that you've got your presentation well developed and you're comfortable up there. Well done. And I also like how you are responding. Now the phone thing threw you off. And I was wondering as I've watched this a few times, Is there anything Kevin can do? And I think you probably did the right thing by focusing on the student question. You commented on the phone, everybody does something different and something well. Um, that was okay. And this is where I'm struggling. And I'm going to leave this as a question. Would Kevin have been better off to completely finish focusing on the student and his question and saying, okay, you took the time to ask me a question, whereas some guy out in the back is starting to dick around. I'm going to focus on you because you're important, answer the question, and then after you've answered the question, address the guy in the back of the room and say, hey, what was that tune or something like that to indicate that you noticed that he's there. And maybe that's going to back him off a little bit. It's always tricky to get people in an audience to get off their phones. And you can see why I have the rules that I have at the beginning of class about phones and stuff. Because if you don't have them there, people will be all over their phones and constantly doing shit and not paying attention. And I'm sure, as you can notice, not much fun when you're in the middle of the class up front presenting. It's just simply distracting and unpleasant. Onward.
Hobby is writing, music, sports, anything, art. These skills will take you everywhere. If you think about better future, you have to talk to very important people growing up. Education, you're gonna have to write a lot of papers in school, a lot of stuff, and this will take you very far. And then grants and scholarships, that's what we're gonna have to low-key provide to everybody. Not to everybody, but to the people who wanna approach this. And
okay, so Kevin, just move over a little bit into the area here. I think you'll find that it's easier to see what's on the slide because again, you're running into the same problem that Robbie was running into. You've got the light of the slides on your face and I've been through all that, blah, blah, blah. No need to repeat it. Nevertheless, I do want to point out you're talking well. You're easy to read. You're easy to hear. You're easy to get involved with. You're doing a really excellent job in terms of your presentation. Very well done.
And workplace communication, y'all are gonna grow up, and then your communication will be very important.
So students in the back, which one?
Okay, there's an interesting choice, Robbie. You had the student up here. She was clearly part of your vignette that you're putting together, and you chose to ignore her. I would really wish we could be together because I'd want to know what drove that decision. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just curious to know what drove that decision. And of course, I'm willing to bet, I don't know this, but I'm willing to bet that you probably thought, well, gee whiz, you know, dude, you're disrupting these other kids that are really interested. And now you're going to call me out. I don't know, but I'd be curious to know. If you want, shoot me an email and let me know what that was about.
Sticks out. Either of you. Which one out of these four sticks out? Yes.
Education.
See, and there's the risk, because you were after me, and what happened is, of course, I'm playing the disinterested student, so I'm going to duck that. And of course, Louise, as my girlfriend and another student, jumped in there, which is exactly what you can expect. Excuse me a second. That she's going to do, because she was the person that played the interested role, and so she is already drawn in with you. You can see that she jumps in fairly quickly because she likes you because of how well you're presenting, and she wants to answer the question. She's not willing to let you hang out there as much as I definitely would have been, because I'm the uninterested student. I could care less what you guys are talking about. And therein lies the danger of directly going after a student who's dicking around, or an audience member who's dicking around. If you call them on it, the tendency is going to be for them to back off even more and just give you either a negative answer because they may be feeling hostile and push back on you. So just a word of warning, careful with that. If somebody's not paying attention, it's tricky to call them out on it. Often it's better to let it go. Registered, especially in a professional business presentation, keep in mind who that person is and what they're doing, because they may have missed an important point in your presentation. And as you guys are implementing some kind of a strategy or plan, all of a sudden you may find that person stumbling and screwing up because they weren't paying attention to what you're saying. So that might help you feel a little less pissed off with them and understand, okay, they missed everything I said in the presentation. So guess what? I get to go to their office and I get to walk all the way through it again. So just tuck that in your back pocket. Okay, Jack's not paying attention. So when I go to talk to Jack, I'm probably going to have to go through everything again. So make sure you have whatever you need to go through the whole thing again with Jack. And at that point, you can make a friend. Don't make fun of them. Don't give them grief. Just walk through it. Don't make them feel stupid or foolish. Just walk them through and help him make sure he understands things and be on his side. So that's a little communication trick outside even here of the presentation. Just something to do when you guys are running into people who in the audience are being a pain in the butt, aren't really paying attention, which I promise you, you're going to get.
Professional advancement.
What do you mean by that? What are you getting at?
Well, I think it's really important to get lots of degrees.
Absolutely. No, we agree with that. And so that leads us into our next point.
So that was sweet, wasn't it? He listened to her question and you knew where that was, that she just set it up perfectly and you let her do it. Excellent point. Here, let us go into the next thing because this is really important. That was lovely. It was really well done. And again, the transition from Jeremy to you is really, really good.
What I'm going to give to you guys is we're going to give you the scholarship to attend college after high school, or maybe that'd be a tech school.
And just so that you guys don't think I'm only picking on Kevin and Robbie, Jeremy, of course, has got the slide on his face too. Want to avoid that, blah, 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 blah,
3
blah.
to 5 page business writing. It's going to be reviewed by our staff, and then we have 4 full ride scholarships that we're going to cover all the fees associated with your college career, as well as 10 partial scholarships that'll cover a large chunk of your college career, just so we can get you with that foot in that door as we know how to find it.
Okay, 2 things I'd like to point out. First of all, Jeremy, you're really looking straight at Louise, and you're really following up on Robbie's point that what she said and what she asked is really important. And here's an answer for them. And Jeremy's making a point to say this is our answer to you, and you're really going to make her feel important by doing that. That's really, really well done. And another thing, you seem to be a touch nervous and a little uncomfortable. Now, again, if we were together, I'd ask what that's about so that we could discuss it more in depth. But I'm going to say that what will happen here is the more you practice, the more you do this, the more often you do presentations, that discomfort is going to disappear. So if it's something that you're wondering about, how do I get to be less nervous on stage? There's always 2 answers to it. The first one is know your stuff and know your stuff really well. Be confident that you know all the pieces that you're going to want to say and that you're going to want to cover. You might remember I brought up on Wednesday's lecture that sometimes I feel that I'm not covering the points because I covered them in the previous class, and I'm constantly asking myself, did I cover this? When did I say this to this class? Or I think I said it, but I might have only said it to the other class. And what happens is I lose a bit of confidence there. And that's, of course, a problem for you guys in the afternoon class or the second class, because you're going, well, geez, he's not comfortable, he's not as smooth, he's not as connected. And I'm not, because I'm more worried about stuff, because I'm not sure whether I've told you a point or whether I told it to the other class. And that's just plain hard. And I've been teaching for ages. I've been presenting for ages. And you can still see it's always a struggle. And you just keep working at it. And maybe someday I'll be perfect. And heck, Jeremy, maybe you'll be perfect before I am. And that would be wonderful too. Again, you're doing a great job. The fact that you're looking straight at that student's eyes, you're showing her that the question she asks is important, and you guys have some important answers to her, and you're going to try to help her out. That's really, really well done.
It's going to be tough, especially for the type of college education.
So we know it's high school. It's a bunch of fun. I like the shirt in the back, by the way.
There you go. Thank you.
This is the next step. We're looking for students that really want to progress in their education and their futures. So these steps will help you become more efficient in the workplace and overall a better communicator. Do you have any more questions we can help you with?
Okay, so unfortunately we're at 4 minutes and 18 seconds, and the rule is that I have to take a grade away if you don't fill the full 5 minutes. So I'm curious though why you ended up not filling up the time. You didn't seem to be talking all that quickly, so it's not like you rushed through the presentation. Um, I'd love to know what happened. And again, I'd ask you and try to figure it out. I can't tell from here. And I'm just really sorry that you did that. And you got to be careful. It's just practice. Something goofed up.
Yes,
4 minutes and 19 seconds.
just about 420.
Are any of you gonna apply to St. Louis University?
I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
Is anyone gonna apply to St. Louis University?
We have some students in the front. Are any of you thinking about applying there?
Yes. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Now, be careful with that answer because Louise is about to tell you something, and I'll tell you why that you got to be careful with that answer.
I mean that in a positive way. No, I just used to work. So my question as a
So Louise and I both knew that any student in North St. Louis knows that SLU is probably one of the most expensive universities in the country. Wash U, your other choice in that neck of the woods, is even more expensive. These are super high-end schools. Most of the kids in North St. Louis don't think they're going to make it. UMSL, maybe, Marysville University, University of Missouri, St. Louis, UMSL, Maryville, St. Louis, Maryville University, sure. Some of the tech schools, why not? As if you'd have been at Monsanto, you'd have realized this too, that if somebody says they sort of want to apply to SLU, you really got to be encouraging and you really got to be careful with them because that's a huge leap up. And that school is $50,000 a year for their education. Now they do offer a lot of scholarships as Jesuit schools are likely and are wont to do. It's just a word of warning that in there you made a bit of a goof up. Nothing I'd hold against you, but I do want you to know you got to know your institutions and your audience in that area. And you got a St. Louis audience and universities in St. Louis, SLU and Wash U, they're just private, expensive schools.
senior in high school is I like to make things look pretty. And so is it okay to use a fancy script type font for business communications?
Not exactly.
So first of all, I love the way you guys smiled because I think I was being a goofball again, right? And it was genuine. You know, you just let it out and going, oh my God, there's an idiot going at it again. And that was really nice. It was very authentic. And we talked about being an authentic speaker, and you guys really pulled it off there. Back to Robbie's answer.
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so for most business communications, they do like to see a font such as Times New Roman. Because if you get into those fancy like sans serif fonts and stuff, it's actually harder for the eye to read. So the eye doesn't follow it as well, and then what people end up doing while they're reading those pictures, they get more distracted.
So that was, again, a great answer. It was well done. You showed you knew what those fonts were. You weren't messing about. Well done. And also I want to quickly comment, nice to leave the black back here. A lot of students don't do that. A lot of presenters don't do that. This is way better than any questions. It just focuses your audience on the three people talking.
We want to keep it concise. Get it to the point, just with that executive summary. Get to your point, keep it active, and that's what we're really focusing on. What about you, young man? Do you have any questions for us?
Young man, sweet.
Or how else can I help your learning today?
You know I'm gonna keep it real, right?
Yeah,
Yo, like I'm gonna be a rapper like 2 Chainz, Big Sean, 42 Doug.
absolutely. I love that idea. And you know what? The principle to that is all those.
Okay. Patient, Robbie. You didn't quite let me ask the question yet. And you jumped on it. You got to give your audience a chance to answer that question. You were quick to jump in there, so careful with that kind of thing. Again, Jeremy, I'm glad you got a chuckle out of it. Way to go.
Rappers, that comes down to poetry. It's poetry with a beat to it, right?
Yo,
Exactly. Now, poetry, you have to be good with your words. You have to be able to put words together that make sense. Yes, intermingle those words. They have to be into a coherent sentence. The biggest thing about a rapper, a song in general, is it has to flow. It has to make sense. Because if you don't, you're a mumble rapper, and no one likes those guys, right? You're an old school rapper, right? Yeah, exactly. All those guys have a story, a timeline. to their songs.
NWA, baby.
And especially like later in their career too. When you start off, you're gonna try everything you can do to get into someone's studio, get on with someone that's a bigger name to help promote your music. And they're gonna have agents that will, if you send them an email to their agent to try to get in with them, their agent's not gonna spend their time to read an email that has a bunch of slang in it, and try to work their way through. They want something that's quick and says, "This is who I am, and this is what I want to do. How can you help?"
All right. So clearly you guys did a great job. Jeremy jumped in there and here, let me stop sharing the screen. As handsome as you gentlemen are, let's look at me instead. So Jeremy did a great job adding to what Robbie had to say and strengthening the point. You guys did a great job. You were clear, you were easy to understand, you were authentic, natural, very approachable, relaxed, while at the same time being really professional. You knew what you wanted to talk about. It wasn't rehearsed. It was clearly just an expression of ideas that you guys understood and wanted to share with us. And that makes this a really great presentation from the perspective of the three people at the front of the room. Further, the fact that you went ahead and did a vignette as opposed to just three talking heads at the front of the room, I think was really great. I was imaginative. I'm glad you guys took the chance. As overall as a presentation, it was more fun and more accessible. So kudos to you guys for thinking that up and doing it. And I'm impressed. I think it was really wonderful. So unfortunately, I do have to take a letter grade away from you because the presentation was not the 5 minutes it needs to be. And you got an A+ on the presentation. So it brings you down to a B+, which is not a horror story. And I am sad to do that. I'm still, that was the agreement that we had. I wish we were together so that I could find out what happened and what went on. Anyways, overall, folks, you guys did a great job in this presentation. It was a lot of fun to watch. It was impressive how well you understood your stuff and how well you presented it. I just wanted to say excellent work.